Last month, the Obama administration sued the state of Georgia for segregating its disabled students. According to a Washington Post article written this month, the state of Georgia has segregated its students to poor quality facilities which were used for black students in the days of Jim Crow. This raises a very important question. Is all the country segregating its disabled students? The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act of 1973 ensured education for all individuals with disabilities. This is incredibly important because before the 1970s, people with disabilities were often not given education or denied an education. Although the United States has made large strides in giving people with disabilities an education, they still have a very long way to go. People with disabilities are segregated into special education programs, which then result into them lagging behind socially, not doing as well post-graduation, and not receiving a full education. To begin with, students with disabilities often are not held to the same academic standards as their able counterparts. An organization called It's Our Story interviewed a disabled woman named Laura Hershey in 2010. She talks about her experience in the public school system. She said that she was put into a classroom full of disabled students. Behaviorally disabled students, physically disabled students, and cognitively disabled students on all different levels. And one teacher to teach the same concepts. This is completely impossible because all disabled students cannot learn the same concepts with one lesson. So her parents moved her from school to school until she finally found a high school that was willing to accommodate her. Regular neighborhood schools are not giving students the education that they should be receiving. To carry on, an article called Disabilities and the Education System, posted on the Future of Children by Aaron, who is a senior officer at the National Research Council, and LaPraz, a director at the Urban Institute, talks about the debate about standardized testing amongst the disabled community. They're debating whether disabled people should be held to the same academic standards as their able counterparts. They said that there's no conclusion to this debate. However, they concluded through research that the special education program is indeed not holding disabled students to the same level as their able counterparts. Secondly, a Huffington Post article written in January recorded that disabled children graduated at a 20% lower rate than their able counterparts. This is a shocking number, saying that disabled people do not graduate the same as abled people, probably because of the inadequacy of the programs that they are put in. To further this point, going back to the Iran and LaPrez article, they evaluated special education programs and their outlook on the future for disabled students. They said that the IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, focused on creating a plan for children with disabilities based on their strengths instead of their interests. This means that individuals with disabilities are thrown into things that are based on their strength and ignore their differences or their disabilities and completely ignore their interests. Therefore, as Iran and LaPrez summarized, result in disabled students not going to post-secondary schooling, not getting employed, and having more interaction with the criminal justice system after they graduate high school. Finally, students with disabilities often struggle greatly socially because they are segregated into special education programs. Going back to the Laura Hershey interview, she talks about her experience making friends in high school. She says that adolescence is hard for everyone, especially when you're different. When you're different, people have a harder time accepting you. Going off of that, a Harvard research study said that able students in a special education school did not know or recognize people with disabilities as much as able children in an inclusion school whom recognized and understood disabilities and often recognized friendship with people with disabilities. Therefore, inclusion often results in better friendships, whether there is a difference or no difference. Overall, America has made great strides in giving children with disabilities an education. The IDA has allowed that and has given programs such as the special education system, which has given assistance to people with disabilities and helped them greatly. However, the special education system has also segregated children in such a way that they very much lack socially. They don't do as well in the future, and they are not held to the same academic standards. I'm going to leave you with a quote from a second Huffington Post article that I read about the debate between including disabled students or not including disabled students. The journalist writing this article, Jillian Benfield, asks the question, we do not segregate disabled people in the real world, so why do we segregate them in the school system? Thank you so much for your time.